Hey guys, it's Quickie Baby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Sphinx playing in his Tier 9 Soviet heavy tank, the T-10. I'm not sure if you saw my video the other day on the IS-5, and I went looking on this channel and I realized, oh my word, I've never done a video on the T-10 or the IS-8. So I thought, let's fix this. Went looking for some awesome replays, and this one just jumped up at me. It's an absolute monster game, and I love watching assault replays because they're nice and tidy, and generally they happen within 10 minutes. Well, when you think about it, they always happen within 10 minutes. One team is going to win and one team is going to lose, and Sphinx is going to have to do everything that he can to carry his team through this battle. So the T-10, why is it special? Well, it's one of the fastest heavy tanks, really. Top speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour, and also has a rather impressive power to weight ratio of nearly 15, with some pretty damn good ground resistances as well. 1 on hard terrain, 1.1 on medium terrain, and 1.9 on soft. So that allows this vehicle to race into positions, as we can see here, and pretty much keep up with equal tier medium tanks such as the T-54. Well, it's a little bit slower than the T-54, but you get my drift, that it is a rather fast heavy tank. And so that means it gets to where it needs to be able to put in massive 122mm holes into its opponents. The alpha damage on this gun is 440, and it has a very impressive penetration. With its standard rounds, 258, and if you choose to fire heat, it goes up to 340. So that means that you have the clout to be able to get through what you need to. And this thoroughly is a tier 10 gun, with a rather decent rate of fire as well at tier 9. The DPM on this vehicle, 2,146. That isn't bad when you consider that its big brother, the IS-7, isn't really that much better with regards to DPM, but you could argue that obviously the step up from 122mm to the 130mm in alpha damage on that IS-7 is rather impressive. Now, the T-10's armor is also rather good as well. It has 120mm at the front, and the armor is very well angled, a lot like on the IS-7. Apart from the lower plate isn't quite as good, especially if you were managing to get a shot up into here. But the turret armor is fantastic. Unless they're hitting, say, the top of the turret, which is rather weak on this vehicle, you are able to just bounce most of the shells that are coming towards your turret with 250mm of frontal turret armor. And when they made this tank HD, I feel like they actually improved the cheeks of this vehicle quite a bit. Although there are some areas of the tank which did get a bit of a drawback when it comes down to HD. So Sphinx has basically played the T-10 how I love to play this vehicle. Go forwards, get into a position, and start trying to work your, albeit bad gun depression, but damn good and well-angled upper hull armor and turret armor to be able to bounce round after round, while hopefully putting in reliable 122mm shells into your opponents. And he has done that exactly. He has bounced 2,300 damage in the first 3 minutes of this game, and also managed to put out 2,894. Unfortunately, an APCR round from a Jagdtiger with 352mm of penetration is the first round that goes into his tank. Now he is trying to pressure this 112 here, that tier 8 Chinese premium medium tank. Sorry, heavy tank, not a medium tank, gosh. And the 112 manages to bounce his heat round off, I guess, the upper plate, possibly the lower plate there. That's 250mm of penetration on the premium rounds on the 112. And it's a blooming good thing that he is firing premium rounds when you think about it, because his 175mm of standard penetration with that 122mm, and remember, not all 122mm are the same, is really not going to contest the front of the T-10's armor. So he gets his revenge on the Jagdtiger there, that guy who put that rather meaty APCR round through the front of his tank earlier on, and he's done a really good job here because he's basically broken through the tougher tanks towards the north, taking out the T-54E1, taking out the Jagdtiger, and also dealing with the T-30, and that allows him to turn around and deal with some rather pesky light tanks that are playing aggressively behind him. I don't know what those T-37s were doing. Were they in a platoon with somebody? Actually, no, they weren't. They just got a pretty horrific matchup. But they do get matched up as if they were tier 7 medium tanks, and that's a good result there as he finishes off the T-54 on the enemy team. Now he takes his next bit of rather major damage here, but 283, that's not too bad, as the 155mm shell from the tier 8 French self-propelled gun hits his tank. Luckily, it doesn't take any modules out, and it doesn't take any crew members out, so he still has both his repair kit and his med kit for later on in the battle. Attrition is something that you really need to try and hope that you don't have to deal with, I guess, in your heavy tanks. But unfortunately, he gets spotted without seeing anything here. That's really not good for him, considering he has no idea what's shooting him from the south. Well, it's probably going to be one of 2 tier 9 medium tanks. And the fact that there are 3 artillery on the enemy team who might be pressured by the Super Pershing shortly, but he doesn't have time to worry about that. He's got to try and put big chunks of health out of this Skoda T50 here while he takes out the IS-3. And unfortunately for that IS-3, that is not one of the tanks that you want to have unloading on you. A tier 9 Czechoslovakian medium tank with a 3-round 100mm autoloader capable of doing 960 damage to you in a magazine rather quickly indeed. The IS-3 doesn't last very long, but he does provide a good distraction here for Sphinx to be able to put 3 rounds into the Skoda T50, and that means now he should be able to finish him off with his 4th. I think Sphinx is rather nervous here. He's starting to rely on auto-aim, but then again, he does have a lot to micromanage. But there's a WZ-120 coming up behind him. Oh my word, the WZ-120 rams into the back of Sphinx. He takes 258 damage, but he does 361 in return with the rear of his vehicle. Puts 1 round into the WZ-120 and bullies the WZ-120, who fires a high explosive round, unable to do any damage there. Must have hit the mantlet or the gun, and so he maintains, albeit his low amount of hit points left of 209. Now that is not a lot. That means that the SP-1C is very likely to kill him with a single round from his 90mm. And let's not even talk about the artillery on the enemy team. But luckily for him, that Super Pershing did provide a little bit of a distraction. Bang! There goes the light tank, changing his 1 versus 4 now into a 1 versus 3. But all of them are self-propelled guns, and when you're on 209 hit points, they don't even really have to hit your vehicle to be able to take you out of the battle here. Even a splash is probably going to be enough. But Sphinx has now 3 minutes left on the game. And remember, it's either win or lose here as he is assaulting. There are no draws in assault game mode. Sphinx pushes on. He wants to try and extend his view range. And the view range on this tank is rather nice actually, 400 meters. We do not know if Sphinx is using coated optics as many players do with this vehicle. But let's not worry about that now as he shuts down the GW Panther. Great result. And now he's going to use this building, a little bit of destructible material to hide from the artillery's wrath. 1 shell misses, 2 shell misses. That's a great result there. But the Lorraine is a fast tank with a great rate of fire that is quite likely to be able to close the distance and be able to pressure him here. But the M4043 has a much longer reload time, and so he wants to try and progress now, try and get some vision up as quickly as he can to be able to spot his opponents. However, I'm not sure about destroying that bit of rubble there. By destroying that rubble and entering the cap circle, well, I guess he does need to enter the cap circle right now. He certainly does, because he needs at least 1 minute and 40 seconds to be able to cap this game. He kind of gives away his position by destroying the rubble. Now he goes into a little alcove here, which is, it looks like it's the safe place to hide from artillery. But gosh, he gets spotted, and once again he doesn't spot anyone. Oh gosh, the M4043 is behind him. Great result as he takes him out, picking up his 9th kill of the game, 8,771 damage, and he's back inside the cap circle with still enough time to cap by himself. He only needs 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and there's 139 left on the game. As long as the Lorraine 15550 doesn't interrupt him once more, he should be able to do it. But that doesn't even matter because he's going to have a chance here. 5 shells remain, and he won't need all 5 of them as he shuts down the last artillery, winning a 1 versus 4 engagement, picking up 9,111 damage that we saw, and securing 10 kills. What a power carry this was in a rather short 8.5 minute game. Sphinx highlighted a lot of the strengths of the T10 here. Its mobility, faster than most heavy tanks, able to race into position at the start of the game. A reliable 122mm. Now, while it doesn't have the greatest DPM, the best accuracy or a short aim time, it is brutal in its effect, and also the rather decent 120mm of well-angled hull armor that the T10 has, and that 250mm of frontal turret armor, keeping him alive just long enough to be able to butcher his opponents one by one by one. One thing that I should mention about the T10 is that unlike its IS-3 predecessor, it is no longer as blind as a bat, with its view range increasing by 50 meters. That is absolutely gigantic, and that enables you to play more of that kind of medium role like you would want to in the T10. So Sphinx picked up a variety of hero medals here, the Pascucci's for destroying those 3 artillery in a row at the end of the game, the Pools medal for his 10 kills, a high caliber medal, and boy, what a high caliber medal this was, 9,111 damage, and also receiving the Steel Wall medal as a top tier heavy tank blocking 3,190 damage. While Sphinx started to run out of standard ammunition at the end of the game, it didn't really matter too much as he still makes 60,000 credits profit and showcased some decent marksmanship. 26 shots, 24 hits, and boy was penetration on your side, all of those rounds penetrating the enemy vehicles. So Sphinx, thank you so much for uploading this on replays.quickybaby.com, and hell, it was about time that we got a T10/IS8 gameplay on this channel, and you really showcased what this vehicle is all about. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out, and let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the T10. Were there any noticeable changes when the vehicle changed its designation from the IS-8 to the T10? And how do you think it stacks up when it's compared with all of the other Tier 9 heavy tanks? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.